Time again. It is that time again, the Brian Parrish Show coming to you live at 5. I'm traveling on the road today in an unknown location in my county, just enjoying a financial summit this weekend. But I have great guests coming on the show today. Our first guest will be talking about a small business. He's a small business owner. We're going to be talking about the CTA Act. And so that's going to be fun to talk about. And we have a candidate for Florida State House coming on later in the show as well. So before we get into my first guest, I want to talk to some younger people. So I've met some young people recently, especially through the holidays. You know, a lot of my friends, they have kids, and then just been out and about talking to kids that are about to graduate, looking to go to college or military or this and that. And I shared with them my 2 cents. Not that, I mean, they were asking questions and talking. So, I shared that why go to college? Why rack up debt? The degree doesn't mean jack crap. It doesn't get you shit anymore. They want experience. And so I personally told them look into trade schools, building a small business, and kind of going that route. Use the money to invest in yourself rather than a college degree where you get indoctrinated anyway, and that degree doesn't mean jack crap. Why not start your small business, be an entrepreneur, or even, go join the military. I mean, I wouldn't join the military in this era, but you can look into starting a little small business and things like that. And I just gave them a suggestion. That's what I would do. I mean, unfortunately, I went to college too, and my degree doesn't mean jack crap and hasn't gotten me anywhere either myself. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on it. Look into doing a trade, learn a trade because you won't get any debt or very little anyway. You'll be able to pay it off. And in whatever trade school you end up getting, you may make almost close to $100K for the year, So that's just what I share with them. And I'm looking forward to talking about this CTA Act with Mark Julian coming up here today. So once he gets on, we'll bring him on the show, and we look forward to chatting with him. And so, there's a lot of things going on with the economy coming up in 2024. Be prepared. Spread your wealth. Start stocking up on stuff that you could trade and use. And just know, shit's going to hit the fan soon, and just be prepared. Start stocking up, get a little 3-month Patriot food supply. And yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing, but just been talking a lot to younger people, friends, and the economy is definitely not in good shape. We have, our government spying on us. I'm sure I kind of covered that briefly real quick the other day with AT&T and our government teaming up to listen to us. But yeah, so that's my point. That's my opening right now. I'm here for a financial summit where Tucker Carlson's going to be speaking, Buck Sexton, and Lisa Booth, and a few others, and really be able to share some of that knowledge I get this weekend with you guys to hopefully spread your portfolio around to be prepared for what's coming and the crash. But like I said, to the young people who I've been talking to lately, hopefully you're checking it out. And I was telling you about starting your own small business, becoming an entrepreneur, forget college. The degree doesn't mean crap. And so now that I was talking to you about the small business, I can bring Mark on so we can cover how to prepare your small business for protection with the CTA Act that's coming. And without further ado, let me bring on Mark Julian. Mark, what's going on? Thanks for coming on the Brian Parrish Show.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
I'm
Thanks
blessed, thank you. I'm very excited about this show. Your wealth of knowledge, and as I know you have multiple small businesses, so this is just very exciting to share your knowledge about the CTA Act, and what a lot of people probably don't know about it.
It's crazy. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
let me break down a couple of the new laws that it's targeting. Here's a few of the lowlights. So the new law targets small businesses with gross sales under 5 million and or less than 20 full-time U.S.-based employees. Requires registration and personal information disclosures. Banks can lock accounts for suspicious activities. Requires a FinCEN number by 2024. If not compliant, could lead to account closures. AI will be used to monitor accounts for compliance, allowing banks to immediately freeze funds. This allows government agencies and civil subpoenas to access your business and personal information. It falls under the Money Laundering Act, allowing asset seizure without criminal conviction. Non-compliance results in 500 a day fines and or up to 2 years in prison. That's ridiculous and crazy.
It's I had a friend tell me he thinks that the CTA stands for the Communist Takeover Act.
So, it is. It should be New World Order CTA Act.
Well, it's a lot. It's crazy because I've been going to China since 2000, and I've been so many times, and it's more of that kind of tactic, and a lot like what they did with the truckers up in Canada, to where they shut their accounts down, and they also shut accounts down to people that supported the truckers.
Yeah.
And with this type of system that they're integrating in, it gives the same kind of ability to be able to do that. Now, I'm not saying we all don't know what's going to happen, but it's like, wow, it's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're putting this bill forward, we have an idea what's going to happen. We have common sense. How do people fight against this? What do small businesses need to call their congressional representative? Well, I don't even like to call them representatives because they don't really represent us. Do they need to call their Congress or senator or even local county commissioner, or what do they need to do?
Well, it's a federal law. So what's funny is that they had a event for veterans, probably about a month ago, and the lieutenant governor was there, and they had a round table, and as you know, a round table doesn't mean everybody's going to get a chance to talk, right? The round table just means they talk, you shut up and you listen, right?
Yes, sir.
And don't ask any questions. But I asked about it. I started with the veteran thing like that, but they had no clue. There wasn't one person sitting on that panel that had any idea what was going on, and this has been a law for 3 years. And it's just now really starting because the time ran out. So it got in 21 or 2.5 years, but now it's actually starting. And the crazy thing is that the momentum's going to start. And even if someone were going to campaign on that ad or on that act or law, whatever you want to call it, what would happen is by the time the new president gets in, it's going to be too late because they get in 20 because it's in full effect by January 2025. So I'm sure that's somewhat planned that way, and that's how they delayed it, because they wanted to make sure it came in. So even if someone were to campaign on it and try and overturn it, now you're overturning into the next, administration, which, who knows what that's going to be. So that's one big piece. And the other side of it is that the restrictions that it just puts down to where, in the past, if you had an issue, it would be more with the state level. Not saying that you're doing any criminal acts or anything like that, because 99.9, there's 31 million small businesses out there that this affects, and 99.9% of those businesses are all legal. So just like a lot of other laws, for the small amount of the people, they actually make it for everybody, even though it doesn't apply to the vast majority of them, which is crazy.
So do they have this? So this law pertains. Do they have one similar for the corporations?
So it is for corporations.
Oh,
So
it is. Okay.
private person doesn't fall under if they file their tax returns because all they have is their own stuff,
Yeah.
right? If so, with the corporation, so if you have an LLC or an S corp or
Well, I was meaning like the big ones, like Amazon or Target.
oh
Or,
no,
that's what I was meaning, like the real big.
no.
I didn't think so.
No.
It's all about the little man.
This is a little man thing, and like I said, it's so little as far as the the actual fraud or money laundering or the kind of stuff that's actually occurring at that level. It's really small, so they just put it in blanket to everybody.
Yeah, I mean they don't want to have transparency over what they're doing because most of them are money laundering our money back to their own pockets. All these people making the laws, and we shouldn't even call this a law because there's a Supreme Court case called Marbury versus Madison that supersedes the Supreme Court law that says, just say like this law, it shouldn't actually be legal because it's against the United States Constitution and our individual civil liberties, isn't it, Mark?
Well, I can't really speak to that because I'm not as well versed to that as you might be.
Well, no, but I mean, like this is an unconstitutional law, the CTA Act.
It's definitely an invasion of privacy, because it puts another arm on that they can actually link everything together, and it hasn't been that way for 240 years or whatever it is, and now all of a sudden it is. And part of it is with the technology changing so fast, they can do it. But the real problem is going to be is when they can. So if you're an average guy and you'd always hear about, oh, this guy does his tax returns don't match, and little things like that, to where someone has as much money as they're making if they're cash or whatever. Who knows, right? You still have to pay your taxes if you make money. That's not the point. But now they can link the businesses that you own, even the business you don't own. So in other words, if your wife owns a business and you have some kind of control over that, you have to be put on there, or you have to disclose that information. And the ones you don't own, in addition to that, to your bank accounts, to your properties, to your tax returns. And what will happen is that they can run software, do parametrics to say, hey, this guy's business brings in, $3 million. He makes 30 grand a year. He lives in a $500,000 house. How does he afford it? And they can just pull out people to actually go target and audit it. And the worst part about it is now they got an extra leverage against you, to where if that paperwork's not done right, you have a theory. In theory, you got a little time to correct it. It's a criminal act, to where in the past it wasn't that big of a deal, because who knows who started some of these companies? You don't know. And if you don't have that information and you don't have everything there, you're not going to be able to get a bank account.
Wow. So what's the best way for people who want to start an LLC? What can you give them some advice or guide them a little? Don't you teach a web class, don't you?
Yeah, so there's a couple where they always leave ways around it for them, and who knows whether this will change in the future or not change in the future. So basically, an LLC or S corporation is just what they call a pass-through entity. So that means when the income comes into there, it's actually passed through to the individual, and the individual pays the tax on it. So the corporation is not taxed. But if you register with the Secretary of State as part of their law, what happens is that now you fall under that law. So what doesn't fall under that law? Well, one, there's a couple ways you can do it. One, let's say you're a $3 million business right now and you have 5 employees. All you got to do in the next few weeks is get your business to 5 million and get 20 employees, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? Then you'll be past it. Another thing you could do is you could become a nonprofit. Run your business from a nonprofit. Another one would be is that you can be part of a public company, but really the realistic opportunity that someone could be is they can actually get what's called a common law business trust. And a common law business trust has the same kind of protections, the same functions, the same. It's just a different tax return for the people. So that would be the way that we're recommending, our clients that want to get out of the CTA. The only issue is that some businesses or some types of company, because they have certain licensing, won't be able to do that. And the other downside,
won't be able to do common law one, you're saying?
Well, okay, let me qualify. So if we're talking about a pure break, right? So
Uh-huh.
if I say, hey, if I'm a contractor and they won't let me with the trust be able to get a license, what will happen is that I'm going to have that business. But what I can do is I can take certain function out of the business legally, and I can restructure the business and restructure part of that under the trust to where I can at least shelter, protect part of my assets, right? Or
Yeah.
part of my business as opposed to the whole thing. That's one way if I can't get out of it altogether. But we have a lot of clients that are dumping their LLCs and they're just doing the common law business trust. It functions the same. The downside of it is that if you have banking relationships, in other words, you have loans, it's tougher to do because you're basically starting over. But a lot of things with the small businesses are driven by the individual owner and based off their credit.
Okay, I do like the common law because I'm more of a common law person with as far as laws, and because common law is more what our Constitution is about. So I like that aspect. Now it says the CTA mandates the disclosure of detailed information about beneficial owners, including personal details like names, addresses, social security numbers. Privacy concerns arise as this level of transparency exposes sensitive personal information. And I think you were covering this. Like only large entities like publicly traded companies, banks, and charities enjoy exemptions from CTA requirements. Why do they get banks and everybody? Why do banks and publicly traded companies and charities get exemptions, but the small business owner doesn't?
Well, it's a good question, but the banks are a different animal, and accountants are out of it too, right? So
Yeah, true. But the banks are the ones that always get bailed out, and that small business owners don't.
yeah,
So
so what's interesting about that is the banks are one of the watchdogs, and they're required to report anything that's suspicious activity. So, but define suspicious activity, right?
exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean, is that the misspelled name and you're getting an ACH in? Is that a wire coming from overseas that could be a business transaction? I mean, what is a suspicious activity? Because it's actually
exactly. That's why I did that quotes earlier. Now, is that the same thing as like the $600 thing that the Biden administration was pushing for the IRS to watch people who spend over $600? Is this kind of similar to that bill?
yeah, no, it's a little bit different than that. So the $600 really from a 1099 standpoint, meaning they're trying to see who you're paying so they can account for that from a tax standpoint. This is more of a lockdown across the board. But back to the banks for a second, and a lot of people don't know this. A bank officer, someone at the bank, if they don't report the suspicious activity, they could be held criminally liable themselves.
Oh,
So they're incentivized, right, to protect themselves. They're going to over-report a suspicious activity because they could be liable for that if they don't. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot more reporting. And then what will happen is I think January, February, really probably February, March timeframe, when the people realize, when most people don't know now, what's going to happen with this, I think there'll be a huge uproar. And who knows whether it goes to the Supreme Court or whatever. But the problem is that you can't peacefully protest it because you'll be in jail. You'll be fined and in jail. So that's kind of the trigger to it. So it's not like some kind of other law or something like that, to where if you're on the outside of it, if you're in business, you're locked in. You don't have a choice. And by the time you do that, you've already put your information. In addition to that, you have to get a picture with all your ID too.
yeah, that's that part we were when I was reading earlier where that suspicious activity or whatever where they can seize your assets without being convicted.
Yep.
So that's dangerous, man.
Well,
And our Congress passed this bill.
that's correct. And our local congressman here, who's a Republican, voted for it. So it's crazy. But the big difference of it is that when you have your assets seized, let's say you got $5 billion in the bank and your assets are seized or they're frozen, how are you going to pay for an attorney to be able to go get your assets back? That's if you can get it back. But if you don't get it back, guess where the money goes?
It goes probably to the government, and they put it in their pocket somehow through some laundering scheme of their own, send it to overseas and back into their, yeah. This is all about the new world order of wiping out that middle class, the small business owner, the everyday hardworking American, because we are the heart and soul of this country. And if you can rip that out and tear it down, you'll have the real rich and real poor. This is a very dangerous. Is there anything like so? Should people be calling their congressmen and their senators?
Well, they definitely can, but the downside of it is that it's already a law, right? And it's already taken effect. And what's funny is, from my experience, is that I would think 80% of the people just accept it because that's just the way the government is. Oh, it's another thing they're doing. It's this, because I've talked to a lot of different people about it, and that's kind of the reaction that I got. There's other people that are concerned about it, that they're doing it, because if you look at, Wyoming, Montana, Delaware, Nevada corporation that had the corporation privacy, that's pretty much going to be out the window. And then because now you can get everything by civil subpoena as well, to where in the past they still have the charging orders in certain states. They still have some kind of protections, but they're really losing that privacy across the board. And there's a way to get it now. In the past, it was really, really hard to get. It's much easier because now I could sue you, I could subpoena those records, and then I can find out exactly what you have, what you own, what you don't own, and what your true assets are. That's going to be the big difference, to where in the past you wouldn't see the true assets. It was more, I don't want to say hidden out there, it was more spread out. And that's why having some kind of trust structure or something like that as an entity in your portfolio for anybody, whether you report to it or not, I think is an important thing long term.
And you're able to do these for people?
We do them with a law firm, because it's got to be an actual legal document that's done right. So we personally don't do them, but we have a law firm that we work with that does them. They've done them for many, many years, and they write them specific. They modified the current model for the business trust to comply with the CTA Act.
Wow. I can't fathom that we have a Congress that would vote for something like this. Now, are people able to use this bill, I say law, against like to audit their government? Like, are we able to use it towards our politicians? Are our politicians subject to this law? Are we able to seize their assets?
It depends what they have, right? So if they have their own trust, no, right? Most of them do. If they have their own businesses or their business are there. But the one thing that, you bring up a good point. The one thing of it is what other businesses that they are associated with that they influence.
Yeah.
Right. And would they disclose that? And the hard part of it is okay, now that's the records inside the government. And how would you get that without a lawsuit or a civil subpoena?
Exactly. And then how do you sue them if all your assets are seized? and then they use our money to protect themselves, and yet we have to use our own money to go after them. It's so backwards.
It's like with China. I mean, China has a system right now that if you jaywalk, that hurts you. If you do some, you don't have enough money in the bank, that hurts you. So your credit score is not a credit score; it's a social /
ESG.
Yeah,
ESG, right?
No, it's crazy because
that's here. They actually use that. They use that here in our own nation, the ESG score.
Yeah, because it's social as well. It's crazy.
Now, can you tell, for people that have never been to China that do business or maybe want to do business in China, can you you said you've been going since 2000? Can you kind of give us some of your experience, like just through just like me? I've never been to China. I'd like to hear a little bit about it. Teach people that communism is real and Marxism and all that, because you've probably seen it firsthand.
So the people that are successful there are usually in the party, right? Most of them are. So when I started going, the first time I got picked up in 2000, I was picked up in probably a 15-year-old Jetta. It didn't have air conditioning and it was hot. And then you go to a lower end hotel, but now you go over there. There's the Mercedes, the BMWs, the Ferraris, the amount of money that's there and what's grown, let's call it along the shoreline where the shipping and where the businesses have really gone from. But there's more people over there right now that make over 100,000 a year than there is in the States. But there's 1.6 billion people there, right?
Yeah.
but there's a lot of money. But they built, I mean, it's amazing. You know, they built apartment complexes straight up that are 50, 60 floors high, and it'd be like 15 of them all in an area. And
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. It's a different, you know, it's a totally different culture, and it's just so many people. A lot of them don't have cars, but and to actually have a car is really, really expensive and hard to do. Um, it's grown so much, and the money that's there, you know, high speed trains. I mean, it's amazing. I remember one time going down the highway to Shenzhen or Shanghai airport, and I counted like over 60 cranes. You know, like a big crane here,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's booming. You might see 3 or 4 up there. You're seeing a ton of them. So the money that's coming there, you're in there, and I always ask 2 questions with a Chinese person. Because one is they always use an
Do you
American.
speak Chinese or Mandarin or whatever it is? No.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go
But
ahead.
so when I first started, you kind of had to have an interpreter, but now it doesn't. You know, it doesn't matter. It's changed so much. One, where did you get your name? You know, because they'll have Bob, Sue, Sally,
Yeah.
and then the one.
But they all have the same last name type, right?
Yeah, you know, a lot like here too, Smith, Jones, you know, that
Oh,
kind of
okay.
stuff, you know. But one of the strange ones I've heard was that he was Robin. It's like, oh wow, it was a boy. So where'd you get the name Robin? He goes, oh, from Batman and Robin. I said, oh, okay. And so and the other one I always ask is, you know, where you have, you know, do you know anybody that really does drugs? And it's like they don't, right? So that's they crack down on that. And then obviously they drink, they have alcohol and that kind of stuff like that. But the reality of it is look, they're people. They don't necessarily like the government. I know some people that I do business with are moving over here as opposed to they want to educate their kids outside of the country. That's a lot to it. But there's a lot of money, and I've seen a lot of these guys make, you know, a lot of money over time because it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy for them to do with the manufacturing side because what would happen is if they're in the party, they're working for somebody else, and then they can go start their own business by taking 1 or 2 of the bigger clients and build that out from there.
Oh, that's cool. Now, you mentioned how they've developed and everything. Thanks to the American people, by the way, and our government's helping with that. But is it like 15-minute cities? Like everything's in that little area where they don't have to go very far?
Yeah,
'Cause you
yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
like
no,
there's
100%. But in that little area, it's I'm trying to think. It's kind of like New York's, not New York, call it kind of like LA, right? You take LA, you concentrate and cram it down, and it's just like that for, you know.
But man, actually, you use Manhattan. Manhattan's probably because LA
But
is more spread out.
yeah, but hundreds of miles, right?
Yeah,
But not LA. I mean the city. You just take the city and put the city next to the city next to the city next to the city,
yeah,
the city for like hundreds of miles, you know, square. I mean the traffic, and it's crazy. And I will tell you, it's some of the best drivers I've ever seen are Chinese drivers because
Oh yeah.
they didn't have as many laws back then.
Okay.
Now it's more structured, but back then, you just got to go. It's a free for all.
I
So
bet. I bet it's chaos.
It's not as bad now as what it used to be, because it used to be the roads were like old cobblestone stone roads, and you know vehicles would be a lot of bikes, you know, motorbikes, not electric bikes, and then they would have tractors that were welded together, and that would be a vehicle. And that's all changed. They're not on those roads. And I'm sure when you go inland a lot more, it's that way. But on the where you see all the way along the shoreline, and you know, Shanghai is a big international city, and always has been. It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot.
Now, would your company do well? So if we brought manufacturing back to the States, do you think small business owners would flourish more, or?
So what's happened is it's labor's a factor, because the labor cost is a big disparity. It's not as big as it was when I first started going over there, because they were making $100 a month. Now they make like 400 or 500, you know, a month.
month?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
the
man. Hey, man, they're moving on up in the world, man. Up to 5 cents an hour, right?
But the difference was back then they were $100 an hour a month, but they would work like 12, 16 hours a
Yeah,
day,
oh yeah, they're slaves. They're slaves. Yeah.
and they all live in the one area. They had the thing. There'd be 10 people to a room, and they would feed them. Right. So now it's a lot different to where they were working 7 days a week. Now they work like 5.5 days. Their
Oh,
pay
good for
their
them.
pays four times higher than what it was, and that's all relative to what the economy is too, because it's cheaper over there. And the more you get inland, the cheaper it is. But I think it's different for people that actually live there. They know where to go and shop and get the better deals.
Now, is their economy isn't strong there right now, is it?
I really don't know. I know the COVID thing kind of hurt everybody. So I'm not sure from a manufacturing side. I think some, like with anywhere, some businesses always seem to do better than other businesses.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like Amazon, and they do pretty well. I think they get a lot of their products over there in China, don't they?
Oh yeah, but so that's a good question. So back probably 10 years ago with Amazon, what you'd have is you'd have middleman in the middle. So the middleman would buy the product from its manufacturer. They would bring it over here. They'd put it in Amazon. But right now what you have is you have the manufacturers that are going direct. So Amazon changed and they opened it up a lot. So you have it actually. um, Walmart or Amazon's not, it used to be super cheap. It's not as cheap now because the manufacturers are going direct and they raise their price because Amazon, they got so many shoppers, they don't really shop, right? They look at it, there's 3 or 4 people are in there and you can kind of see where everybody else is and you do it. Occasionally you'll have someone who come in and undercut you. So I had a friend that's doing steamers and he was it's selling a lot, like 800 a day. The actual manufacturer came in and basically cut his price down. He couldn't compete because he couldn't buy it from him and turn around and sell it because with their manufacturers will take a lot lower margin because they don't have to make as much.
Man, it's crazy. I'm sitting here reading that. So the bill, this CTA Act is HR 6395. And this law already passed for everybody. We're just rehashing what Mark and I were talking about. Um, I'm just reading. It's crazy how communist, like, because you were just explaining China and how they do. It's so crazy. It's so similar, this bill for the small business owner.
Unfortunately, it is.
And this goes for bars, restaurants who are just
Doesn't
not
matter
even.
it doesn't matter what industry you're in unless you're accounting, financial, funds, banking, certain ones like that don't fall under that.
Yeah. And so, is there any way to elect new congressional and senators and to maybe change this law? Or what can we do to fix it?
Wow. I mean, the timing of it's really hard. One, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been a topic for a presidential candidate yet, right? You would think that's one. The other side,
a lot of those topics aren't really top priority for the people that they really care. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. So you have, I mean, I don't know because and especially with the go to jail, $500 a day fine up to $10,000. So it's really stiff penalties, and it's all going to be happen by January 1st, 2025.
2025, right?
So now what you're going to be in is you're already going to be in it. Why would you change it if you're already in it? Right?
Yeah. And
So
you're go ahead. Sorry.
No. I just said I think it's here.
For sure. And so you said get a common law trust for your small business. That way it doesn't protect you completely, but it protects you a lot better than any other LLC or entity like that, right? Correct?
Well, if you define completely, it depends what it's for. Let's say if you have your assets in an LLC and then something happens, someone slips and falls and breaks their neck and you get sued, they can take all the assets out of the LLC. It's the same way. So it's pretty much identical to an LLC. So no entity really protects you, but that's why if you have a different kind of trust on the backside and your assets are in there and you lease the assets to the business trust, that'd be a way that you can actually protect your assets from some kind of frivolous lawsuit or something like that.
Now, I've been talking to some high school seniors and kids that are getting ready to go into college. I personally was telling them, like, maybe look into trade school or starting your own small business, be an entrepreneur type, instead of being indoctrinated and being in debt through college. What would you recommend someone who's a senior in high school getting ready to maybe make a life decision on going to school or military or wanting to start a small business? You got any, since you do have multiple businesses, you got any insight for the youth?
Well, one is a lot comes down to a personal decision. You know, what do they want to do and what excites them to do it. One thing is obviously you want to do something that you like to do, which is sometimes hard to do when you're starting out. But right now you have the University of YouTube, which is out there. So the time frame to be able to start something and move it is unreal. But there's so many there's so many scams, there's so much there's so much information that's out there. It's mind blowing, but there's some good information, a lot of bad information. So it really comes down to what their goals are, what they want to do. But now's the time. When you're young is the time to be able to take the risk before you have a lot of responsibilities to be able to do it. So if you want to go to college, depending on what your degree, that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I know a lot of people that go and they become a lawyer and they don't work as a lawyer because they don't like it. So that's the hard part. But you should do something that you like to do and be able to and learn it. I mean, because now the speed to market, it's all about speed and having some kind of efficiency to get there. And I think it's the key with any type of business, regardless of wherever they're at and what they're doing. Because with the whole AI world that's coming around right now, it's just changing. And the change that we've had over the last year is unreal. And the changes that are coming now for the next year is even more unreal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the AI, to be honest with you. It's very dangerous. It's going to make people reliant on the government because it's going to take many jobs away from the everyday people. And who's going to control the AI? Who's in charge of that?
Got me.
How do you even take them down if they turn, like, what if it becomes like a RoboCop situation or a Terminator situation? You know, I don't have Arnold Schwarzenegger around to take down these robots. Like, what? I mean, how do you feel about the AI situation?
Well, I mean, it's here. So you can, it's one of those things. It's like if you go back to look, when they were talking about people riding horses, right? The people that rode the horses back then said, "What do you need a car for?" Right?
Yeah.
Now you don't have the car. You go back on the cell phones. You don't have, we had they had those pagers back then. You got cell phone. You don't need the cell phone because you got a pager. And then the conveniences of everything that come, but the AI is so smart and it cuts a lot out from the business side. I think that it's just going to shift the market as a lot of technology has. And I think that the new technology that's coming is unreal. And I think it comes down to guns can be bad too, but it's whose hands are they in. And the only difference with the AI is, like you said, who's writing the AI, how it goes, and garbage in, garbage out. But I see it as it's like the gold rush back in the 1800s. That's actually out there because the changes that are there, and a lot of people don't understand it. But the speed to market is unreal. It's unreal, and it's not it's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I mean, if you're using it from a research assistant standpoint and you're reason to put things together to do it, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pros and cons, right?
Always.
With anything.
Always.
How do the cons outweigh the pros though in AI? For me, I think it does,
but for you, it's a personal choice, right? Which is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's coming, right?
For sure.
If you're in a small business and you want to stay on the cutting edge, you should embrace some of it because it's going to speed it up and even take it's going to increase your profits because you won't need as many workers. But
exactly.
workers aren't going to be someone else, because we've changed from an economic standpoint to where now, I mean, look at the whole YouTube. It used to be back, there were so many TV stations that people chose, Nickelodeon, which they're still there, but they don't have as much power because you have people like Mr. Beast and other guys like that built their own audience up. And because now you can get the things that you like and you can spend your time on that. So it's always good and bad, but it's leveled the playing field. But the difference of it is that some of these people know how to be able to use technology and be able to leverage, whether it's their personality or whatever it may be, their family's fame, whatever the case is, that they're able to leverage that into a living. And now it's changed quite a bit to where you can say, hey, I like Pokemon cards, and you can actually make a living doing Pokemon cards.
It's nuts. It's what the availability of things these days compared to even when I was growing up is, like when I was a teenager, I wasn't thinking, none of us were even thinking any of this. We're outside playing. We're playing Cowboys and Indians and out in the trees in the woods, hunting and fishing and playing sports.
Yep. But well, I'll tell you, with the phone thing, I was against it at first as far as with the kids. I can't remember what grade they're in, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, whatever it was. And I didn't let them get a phone. And then it's like, well, they were left out. They didn't have the communication because, like you said, it used to be we all go meet around the tree or we go do something, but now it's all the phone. And so if you didn't have a phone at that environment, you didn't exist. So, I mean, obviously I changed my philosophy and let them get a phone because they were excluded, because that's the way society was at the time. It still is.
Yeah. Now, I remember as I was getting ready to graduate high school, they were talking about Y2K, like 2000 was going to be the end of the world. Mm-hmm. And granted, it didn't end the world, but it changed society as a whole for the worse. Mm-hmm. You took away relationships. Mm-hmm. You took away just people being more aware of what's going on in their surroundings and having conversation. Now everybody's in their phone. So in a way, it changed civilization to where I think what we're facing today, just people are so self-entitled and need a phone or some sort of computer to even get by for the day. And it's pretty sad because that computer and that phone don't care about you like people do. And so
it's a tool. I mean, it's nothing but a tool, but you got to look at the other side. What are they doing? They're trying to keep you on so they can sell more stuff. It's a business to them.
Yeah.
And if your phone is your life, you've got a problem.
Yeah. And for the people, there's people every day now that can't even get by with that. It's yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about on this CTA Act before you go, Mark?
No. So if they want to get more information or do something, they can go to Opt Out CTA, OPT, OUT, and then CTA. And
where do they? How do they opt out? Like, where do they go to do that?
Well, so we walked through a whole webinar to be able to take them through how they can actually opt out, and then or stay in too, because we help people do compliance as well. So it works both ways.
Okay, so say how to get a hold of you, where they can find that, so that way they can
www.optoutcta, OPT, CTA.
Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate you, and I'm grateful. I hope you can come back on, and you can maybe be my small business analysis and kind of update us here and there.
There you go. Really appreciate it, Brian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, God bless you, brother. Take care.
You got it.
That was Mark Julian, everyone. Man, I appreciate him being on today and talking to you guys about the CTA Act, which has been approved already by Congress and Senate. It goes in effect in January 2025. I can post it on the link for today's show, so you can kind of click on it and see the different what it does for the bill. And you need to stay on your Congress and senators. Actually, you need to elect all new ones because they don't care about us. As you can see with these bills and their New World Order, communistic, Marxists, they want to wipe out the middle class, the small business owner, the everyday hardworking American, the family. it's about Judeo-Christian principles, the love of country, and your family. That is the things they have been targeting, and that is very dangerous. It is here, guys. Just Mark was telling you, it's here. You got to wake up. You got to stand tall, protect each other, the small business owner. And now, speaking of that, we're going to lead into someone who is running for Florida State Senate. She is a fighter herself, from just what I've kind of been reading and about her a little bit. And I kind of like, she's a little spitfire like me. I'm going to ask her some questions here and kind of navigate a little bit. Haven't been able a chance to talk to her yet, but I want to bring her on. Her name is CJ Blanchett, I believe is how I say it, right? Is that correct?
Great. Yes, you did great.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you on today, and I'm excited to talk to you. I haven't met you yet personally, so this is cool.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so very much for the time.
Yeah. So if you want, tell people about yourself, your kind of maybe your top few priorities while you're running, and just different things like that. We'll start there and we'll work our way in.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I am CJ Blanchett. I am running for the Florida State Senate in District 13.
And where is that at? Sorry, real quick. Where's that at?
Absolutely. That district is all of Lake County, as well as Winter Garden, Windermere, and some portions of Reedy Creek, the Disney area.
Okay. Oh. And that's very important because we want people like you to continue to fight the pedophile Disney World and make sure that they're following what they're supposed to be doing. So that's important. Sorry,
Absolutely.
Go ahead, keep going. And so what is some of what made you run? Like what brought you to run? Because as someone, I'm running currently, but has ran for United States Congress. It's not, I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's not really fun. And to leave.
It's not fun at all. And I have to tell you, no one in their right mind should want to do this. I said their right mind, but me, I am of a godly mind. So I have to tell you, I got here because I believe I was led here. Just a little story, I've never been political. My family has never been political. We did not follow politics. We just believe that people are entitled to live their lives. People are entitled to live their lives unencumbered. And, as long as you do you and you don't interfere with anyone else, we're good to go. And, the first time in my life I ever voted was in 2016. That's when I decided I needed to pay attention. And shortly after that, we needed to pick sides. So, I was
Let me poke you right there for a second. Hang on. Sorry.
Okay.
So you said first time ever voting in 2016.
Correct.
And I read your history. You come from a military background.
That is correct. And a law enforcement background.
Now, you personally or just your whole family?
So my entire family, including our children, we have some very strong girls. Our daughters are military. Our son-in-law.
What branch?
Are military. So one of our daughters and son-in-law is Army.
Okay.
And the other, respectfully, is Chair Force.
Hey, I love it. Hey, wait, you're not a veteran. You can't say that. I'm just kidding. But I'll say it. It's a Chair Force.
Yeah, she works very hard. Actually, she was a cyber security lieutenant, and now she is a physician's assistant. She's a certified physician's assistant. So,
well, thank them for their service, and
thank you.
We pray they come home safe and sound one day. So
I'm
going to pick Pricedale. I brought that up because your first time voting in 2016. So correct. When you serve, you're serving so people have the right to vote. Why did you wait so long?
That is a great question. Because we didn't pay attention. We just didn't pay attention to the global things that were going on. We paid attention to our area. We paid attention to our family. And like I said, it appeared that things were going great for everyone. And then little by little, you see, things happening in Congress, things happening in the Senate, and things happening in our neighborhood that just didn't seem right. And then when things started escalating, we decided, I decided personally, I can't speak for my family, but I decided personally that I no longer liked the representation we had. I was very interested in President Trump's America First policy. So I followed that. And I just want to say, it has nothing to do with, my decision has nothing to do with Trump, although there's no way to deny that he did right by the United States. My decision
Amen.
came when I got tired of saying, God, why are you letting this happen? And God, why are you allowing these people to get away with these things? And I got to tell you, Brian, one day I turned on my Dish Network and it turned to channel 63, which is called The Message. And I hadn't listened to that before. And a song came on and it had a really great beat, and I love music, so I'm listening. And the words in the beginning of that song, it said, I asked God, why do you allow these things to happen? Why don't you do something? And God said, I did. I created you. Here I am. Here I am.
And as someone, I got the Holy Spirit just came upon me. But
Amen.
as someone, so God called me as well in this fight, and I'm so grateful as somebody who's a sinner saved by grace. I chased my worldly dreams and rather than God's will for a long time, and it's the greatest thing surrendering to Him that I ever did.
Amen.
And to getting in this fight like you. There's a fire. It's the most joy I've ever had, CJ, in my life. And I thought I'd chase in my worldly Hollywood actor dreams or being a big professional athlete. And it never fulfilled me. It never really gave me that fire. And now I have it because of God. And then, so we're His soldiers in this, and this is exciting to talk to another soldier in this good versus evil war that we're in, spiritual war.
Absolutely.
And people need to realize and come to light that this isn't a Republican or Democrat fight. This is a good versus evil.
This is absolutely good versus evil, and I'm very happy to know you, and now you are my brother in Christ. So thank you very much. No, this is not a Republican versus Democrat thing. We used to be able to work together. We had our differences, but we always found a way to think of the American people. That is no longer the case. This is a good versus evil. We have globalists in office. We have Marxists that want to turn our country into a one world order country. And we have to stand up. And the most important thing, we have to stand together. We have to unite, because united we stand, divided we will all fall.
It's even in the Pledge of Allegiance to
Amen.
the republic for which we stand, which stand one nation under God.
That is correct. And they're trying to get rid of God, because a nation without God is a defeated, a fallen nation. So they're trying to get rid of God. They don't want anyone to say, in God we trust. They don't want anyone to say, thank you, Jesus. I am a constitutionalist.
Amen.
First and foremost. And
Amen.
I believe in the Constitution of the United States. And if we follow the Constitution, you cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong. And the Constitution, I believe, was built on our God. Our God.
Yeah, Judeo-Christian principles, yes.
That is correct. And every one of our liberties and rights have been given to us by God.
Yep.
Not by man.
And the Constitution protects those. Right.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct. So it's important for me, Brian. Some of the things that I like to do is I carry the pocket-sized Constitution with me everywhere. And I don't mean one. I carry like 100.
Amen.
Because I try to reach people And when I start talking about the Constitution, some people will say, "Oh, I've never read it." And I'll say, "Well, I have a copy for you." I think if people understand their rights as given to them and as written in the Constitution, they'll be more apt to protect those rights. That's what
Go ahead. Listen, I was just grabbing mine. I had mine right here.
Yay!
I set it down to. So yeah, I carry this thing everywhere I go. I kind of have a little stack because they get ruined after a while, but
that's okay. That means you're reading them and they're being looked at.
Yes. Now, since you're going for Florida Senate, you can kind of create policy for schools. Now,
well, that will be something that I work on. Yes, for the state, absolutely.
Now, is there any way? Are you pushing that we bring civics back, where kids learn the Constitution, learn how to write in cursive, reading, writing, arithmetic, get rid of child pornography books? I'm not for banning books, but we shouldn't have books that are like pornography or sexual books.
That's correct. But I just want to clear something up. Even though these people, mainly the left and the liberals, they like to say they banned those books. They banned those books. The books are not banned. They're still available. We just want to take them out of the reach of children who can't even tie their own shoes.
Exactly.
So I don't think that young children should be exposed to those type of things. You're told in a court of law that the child is a child until the age of 18. Then why are we trying to introduce these adult things to children 3, 4, 5 years old? Exactly. So they're not banned.
Even older, like even in elementary, they shouldn't be, or middle school, none. Like that should be a choice between the family. If Correct. They want to go check it out at a public library or wherever you go, but it should definitely be nowhere near a school.
That is correct. Sure. And that's always been the family's choice. But like I said, we now have Marxists and globalists in office. And so I believe that what they want is to eliminate everything that is different. They want everyone to be the same. They want everybody to be on the same level. They want everybody to think the same, walk the same, look the same, act the same. They've taken away all individuality and they're taking away your choice. That's what happens when they take away choice. They take away your individuality, your constitutional right to choice. And so, yes, I will be pushing to make sure that these books stay out of the hands of anyone in elementary school and middle school. And I will push for it to be a choice of the families of high schoolers. We shouldn't assume that just because they're 16, 17, or 18, that they actually know what's best for them, because the people they're going to, they don't know what's best for them either. So I would like to leave that choice still in the family and the student so they can opt out if they want. No one should be forced to have to read or do or be involved with something that they absolutely don't want to be.
What about creating an opt-in option instead? If they want to participate in that, maybe there's a special way, because everybody should be opt out of it. Like nobody should be opt in it at all.
That is correct.
And so, and what do you do about the people that work at these schools that are pushing Marxism, the transgender religion cult? If you dress as a girl, you can go. You're a girl, supposedly, even though you still have a penis. Excuse me, talking to you in front of a lady.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, so
I don't offend.
Good. Well, I hope not, especially if you're running for office.
Absolutely, and I said that on purpose because I'm sure that people assume that women are weak. At least they'd like to make people believe that.
I wouldn't say that. I think you guys actually have been the leaders in this war. Unfortunately, it's the men that have been failing. They attacked the male out of the home. The father. Their whole agenda was to take God and then the male out of the home.
Correct.
And they beta mailed everybody up, soy boyed them, so that way they can attack the family structure. And so I call my brothers all the time because we need the men to stand up. In order for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
Absolutely. And they call it toxic masculinity.
Yes, I'm a toxic
However,
masculinity, baby.
however, that has been keeping us free for 200 and some years. So I'd love to be a part of that toxic masculinity because I don't think it belongs to just the men anymore. Women have to be strong. Women are strong, and more women are stepping up. The thing is to get the men that believe there should be no hierarchy, so to speak, in certain or participation in certain things like politics, some business. It's to show them that we are just as tough, we are just as strong, and, and we are leaders. We are leaders.
Behind every good man is a strong woman.
Amen.
And it is supposed to be, God wanted the man to be the head of the house, but it's not like a head of a house where your wife's your slave, or
Correct.
It's an equal yoke.
Correct.
And then you're supposed to keep God as the foundation of your marriage and your structure there at the family. So that's where a lot of interpretation is flawed, and it's on purpose too.
Absolutely.
The manipulation. There's so much manipulation in society to where, especially about God, because it's about just like we talked about, destroying God and taking God out of everything. But if you keep that foundation, marriages are what, about probably 60% divorce rate going in the society today, like somewhere around there.
That's correct. That is correct, because nobody wants to try anymore. It's not worth it. We have become a society of throwaways. So and fast everything, and nobody wants to cultivate anything, and nobody wants to build anything. And it's rare when you see young people, and I say young people, 30, 40 years old. It's very
hey, thank you. Hey, so sweet of you.
Yes, I've been there, 40, done that, 40. Past that era. But it's great to see them actually wanting the family unit, wanting the foundations, following God's footsteps, believing in the word. It's a rare thing, and that's what's missing. They're trying to destroy the family unit. They're trying to destroy the belief and faith and hope that we have in our God, and they just want it to be a free for all. That we can do what we want, say what we want. Nobody has responsibility. There's no accountability. And that's just not the United States. Specifically, that's just not District 13 I want to live in.
So what are some of your other top priorities besides the school?
Well, I think in the past week or so, Brian, I've noticed some collusion going on with our local government and our local law enforcement. And I think we need to, the people need to speak up and remind our local government, meaning our city commissioners, our county commissioners, our mayors. They work for us. We put them in office, and we can vote them out of office. They have to stop colluding with each other for what they want, and they have to go back to listening to what the people need, what the people want. So I will absolutely be watching and pushing to remove any of those individuals that are in these local offices that are no longer listening to the people. I know of some that have got into office, and just from speaking with them recently, and I absolutely despise everything that they stand for, because they forgot they were put in place to represent the people. They feel like this is their God-given job. This is their job. They're going to leave it when they're ready, and they're going to perform their duties as they see fit. And we have to remind them that's just not the case.
So now, you're saying collusion, right?
Yes.
So it's very hard to get scumbag, traitor, treasonous people to court and to prove. Do you have the evidence of this? Is there a way? Have you reached out to the sheriff's office or whoever? Have you reached out to we the people in your district and your community to let them know? Because they need to know this stuff. They need to know who's in office. They need to show up to the primaries. to vote for someone like you who's in the grassroots fighting in the swamp, man? You're fighting it. Like, how do people find this information out? How can you get it to them?
Well, thank you very much for that, for saying what you did about me, because I am one of them that would really like to work for the people. I have an organization. It's called United Conservatives Alliance, and we have made it our mission to seek out these corrupt individuals. And I personally, along with a few other of the members, we go to these meetings and we let them know, we know. The proof is in their actions. So I try to get a lot more of their own constituents involved. The issue that I have found is the people are tired. The people are tired of fighting back in these local areas. The people are tired of feeling like their voices are not being heard.
The hopelessness, right? They feel hopeless, right? That's the attack on the Holy Spirit.
Amen. That is correct. And I see it.
Yeah. And so
I see it in their faces, and I've gone to these meetings and I point that out. So what I try to do is get the people involved again. I go through the community, and I've been doing this long before I decided to run. I go through the community and I speak to the people on something that I know isn't correct. And I ask their opinion because, there's an old saying in the law, no victim, no crime. And I'm looking at all these victimized residents that feel like they have no representation. So I just, I try to let them know that I live here, I work here, I suffer just like you do, I enjoy just like you do, and I support my community, and I want to represent you, because if everything in the world falls, I will fight to make sure District 13 is the last one standing.
So now let's just say you get elected to the Senate. You're only one person. How would you be able to take these people down by yourself?
And thank you for that. But, it only takes one person. And so we move one person at a time. And I will stand up alone if I have to. And then I will try to encourage and show the others why it's important to stand with me. And I got to tell you that we've had a lot more people change their minds and their attitudes when you hit them with real facts. Because otherwise you're just arguing amongst people that have already made their minds up. So it's better to let them see for themselves, and that's what I try to do. I never want to be confrontational with someone. I would like to actually turn to the good side.
Discussion.
Correct. It is always about discussion, and I always leave the discussion saying, you are entitled to your own opinion, and may God bless you. That's all we can do.
What I've learned is people are set in their ways. It's hard they'll continue to vote the communist rhino until the day they die. This guy, you could show him all the facts in the world. Like I did with my opponent. I showed him all these facts. They didn't care. So how do you break that mindset of what Albert Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? How do you break people? I know you just kind of said it, but really, how do you really get into that old way? Because is yours a red or blue area?
So we are predominantly red in our area.
So
however,
you have a rhino in there? Sorry.
Oh, do we have a rhino?
Yeah.
Oh, we have a couple of rhinos here. We have a couple of rhinos. I'm not going to call these particular people rhinos. What I'll call them is opportunists. They're opportunists. I have suffered in that myself, having people in my camp, in my corner, in my organization that were constitutionalists on paper. They talked a good game, but in the end of it, they turned out to be opportunists. They went where the money led. That is the biggest problem we have. I think we should put a limit on the amount of money that candidates can raise. We should put a limit on the amount of money that candidates can accept, because that's the only way we level the playing field.
Amen. Well, what about no lobbyist?
Well, if you are doing what you're supposed to do, you should be able to go out and speak to people and have that person say, I'm going to vote for you. It'll take a little longer, but I don't think lobbyists have the people's best interests at heart.
Exactly.
I think they have their best interests at heart. It's all motivated by money. It's all motivated by favors. And that's what we have to stop.
Yep.
So, you know,
my congressman's a big favor guy. He doesn't do anything for the people, but he loves doing favors. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's hard, and that's true. I found that out myself because when I decided to run, after talking to my family and praying about it for a couple of months, I went to the people that I thought would be receptive. They were considered my constitutional officers in this location, right? And these were people that had been a part of other events that I had conducted or hosted or been a speaker at, and they were all on board. But the moment I announced I wanted to run, they put on the brakes, they backed up because they know CJ speaks her mind. She can't be bought. She can't be sold.
And when you're going to be scary to them.
When she makes up her mind, she doesn't waver. And it was comical. It was comical watching them go, yeah, okay, well, you know, good luck, and I wish you the best. And I can't get those people to speak to me, get on the phone or nothing. And that, to me, that's motivation. That's my motivation, because I am, on the other hand, out there talking to every one of my neighbors, my friends, my new friends. I'm out there explaining why I feel I would be the best representation for you, because I am you. I live here. I work here. I know what's going on. I know it affects families. We have a family. And, you know, and I've had no one that said, I'm not interested. I have a really hardworking individual. I won't say her name because she gets very, you know, she's very shy and she doesn't like any kind of recognition. But this one individual who is a good friend of mine, she has systematically gone once a week, every week, to the tax collector's office, and she has solely been the sole purpose of me getting 800 signatures in the last 3 months.
That's a blessing. Wow.
So I'm grateful.
How many do you need total?
I believe I need 1,800, and I have until May. And I chose to get elected or be put on the ballot by getting signatures because I wanted to go out and meet the people.
It's definitely a great way, for sure.
Yes, and it's been so successful. I've made a lot of friends. People recognize my truck. You know, it's the only truck around here that's got the gigantic tailgate of the American flag that says "My country, my flag," and I mean that.
Amen. That's cool. Now, I try to go the signature route, but a lot of people don't like to sign mine because, I mean, it might be different this year because I ran against a 4-decade congressional guy. His family's been in our Congress in my district for 4 decades, so they were pretty pissed off when I ran against them. So those signatures are definitely hard to get, but I definitely enjoyed it because, like you said, you get to talk to people, build that relationship, let them kind of see how you are and all that stuff, and they get to ask you a bunch of stupid questions. Why aren't you wearing a tie or things like that? Like, yeah, it's fun. Like I said, it's fun, but it's also not fun at the same time. But
so
when you're serving God,
one funny, like you said, it's fun, it's funny, but it isn't at times. And this one thing that has plagued me. So I have a Ford F-150 truck, right? And I have that gigantic tailgate that I tell you, and I've got my magnets on the side, and it says CJ Blanchett, proud Republican. And, you know, I've got signs on the back, constitutional conservative. And I pull up somewhere and I get out of my truck and somebody goes, what party are you representing?
Yeah. Well, I can understand them asking that because you said Republican and they're like, well,
Correct.
Republicans aren't constitutional conservatives.
Correct.
They're just a bunch of sellout uniparty jabrones that have no balls and spine.
Yes.
And so it's like, when you say that, it's like, you're not a Republican either. You're a constitutional conservative.
That's right.
And I like that you don't use democracy either, because that That's like screeching on. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're not a democracy.
Amen. No. We're a constitutional republic.
Republic. That is correct.
But a lot of those virtue signal, and even in the federal, always say democracy, democracy, and we're not. It's disgusting to even say that.
That's right. That is exactly right. Because one of our founding fathers said democracy is the most vile form of government. So.
Yep. I want to destroy democracy personally myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to get back to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And all men are created equal and nothing else matters. That's what we need to get back to.
And we will. God won this war. Now it's all up to us.
Amen.
People. And so all right. So you said schools and corruption. Yes. I got to ask you personally, because I know a lot of people that might not vote Republican because of how Republicans have handled constitutional carry. People shouldn't have to ask permission from our government to be able to carry a gun on their person, whether open or not. They shouldn't be told what they can and cannot have. If someone wanted a tank or an F-16 and they can afford it and all that, they should be able to have it because the government has it.
Absolutely.
So how can you convince gun owners that you're not going to be just another spineless, ballless Republican if you get elected into the state Senate?
Well, those that know me and those in my area would answer that for you, because each and every day, with the exception of today, I decided to be a little more girly looking for your.
Be you. I love it. I love authenticity.
I have this amazing hat that says, "We will not comply," and it has an AR-15 on it. And I constantly tell people, assault is not a brand of weapon. It is an action. So it is an Armalite rifle that is on my hat. And every day I am preaching that it is our God-given right to keep and bear arms. We should not have to wait for anyone to come and protect us or save us, especially the government that we have right now. And that the Second Amendment is in place not for hunting, as everybody wants to say. Why do you need that? You're going to go hunting, just get this kind of a shotgun. It's not in place for hunting. It's in place so we can defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. And we are so there. We are so there. So I tell everybody,
our government's not tyrannical. I trust our government, man. They're so kind. And take care of us so well.
Doesn't it feel amazing to be able to trust your government and know that, you're going to be able to afford your food and that you're not going to have to worry about choosing between medicine and gas? I think it's wonderful. I love this government.
Oh, yeah.
I love my country.
All sarcasm, by the way, everyone who's watching. It's all sarcasm. Don't take it.
Absolutely. And I know it, and I'm loving it because.
Oh, yeah. No, I know you do. I'm just saying for people watching, hey, what is it? No.
Yes.
So,
well.
Quick little
hopefully we have enough people right now that understand your sarcasm, because and sadly enough we might not, because they're trying to take away even your right to laugh and to joke.
Oh yeah. Well, I like to laugh at myself a lot. So
well, I say the way that we retain and try to restore our republic is to go back to the Constitution, believe in every single amendment and right that we have, and use it. Don't let someone that you visually see as a female and you say, "Good morning, ma'am," and they lose it because they identify as a chocolate chip. Don't let anybody like that change your speech, change your mindset, and don't indulge in their delusions. I'm sorry, but you can identify as what you want, but I see what I see.
I don't play that game either. If I see a dude dressed as a chick, I'm telling him, "Hey, dude." Like, I don't acknowledge it. Just like, because if we do, we're playing that game. We're allowing that to happen, and it's the duty of all of us to protect and defend the weak, vulnerable, and stand on the principle and the truth. And if we don't, then it's our fault.
That is correct. I take that very seriously. And so I make sure that I am armed each and every day of my life, because if there is a place that you feel you can go that you don't need your firearm, then you don't ever need to carry a firearm. There's no place safe anymore. Nobody's coming to save us. It is up to us to take care of us. And that is what I intend to do.
So CJ, so how would you, so say you're in the Senate and you put a bill forward, you're trying to put the bill in committee to restore our Second Amendment rights, but you have a Senate president like we just had this last session, wouldn't put anything forward like that. What do you do do you go to the media to call her out? Like, how do you handle it? Like, because Republicans have been promising constitutional carry for I don't know how many years now, and
So Brian, I guess to first answer your first question, I would say that is what happens a lot, and unfortunately, you can't get anything passed until you have backing. So I would go to my constituents in the Senate and ask them and bring them proof and show them why they should release these things or no longer infringe, because it doesn't say you might have the right to keep and bear arms. You do, and they cannot infringe against it. So, for a country that they say we need gun control, we have so much control already on the books for things that they should not infringe. So I would absolutely go to each one of my constituents. I would be armed with my constitutional rights, my Constitution book, try to explain to them. It is very difficult to change the mind of someone who's already made up a mind that they really don't have. So that would be work. But what I would say is that I would reach out to the American people. I would reach out to the American people and remind them why they have these rights, because I really truly believe that there are so many Americans that don't understand the Constitution. They don't recognize all these rights that they have, and they've been conditioned to just comply so easily, and they've been conditioned to accuse others that don't comply of being selfish, racist, homophobic, and we have to stop that. So collectively, we have to work on taking back every single right that they infringed on, and we can't let them take any more. Whatever I would need to do, I would do. Go to my constituents, go to the news. I'm fighting for the people. Whatever the people need, whatever they suggest, what the avenue they think is best, that's where I'm going. I will not stop until I attain what it is that I know we constitutionally should have.
Now, have you reached out to Gun Owners of America of the state of Florida yet?
Absolutely. See, I'm a Gun Owners of America member, as
nice.
well as as well as the NRA and every other.
Well, the NRA, I think they're more of a rhino type organization, unfortunately, and
they've become.
Me personally, I'm more of a Gun Owners of America over NRA, because NRA is all talk.
Yes,
they were part of getting our red flag gun laws here and banning. The one that happened under President Trump.
So you're talking about the pistol brace.
Yeah,
the pistol brace. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so NRA was behind all that, and so it's like, well, what do they stand for? But I don't want to keep pounding on the gun thing. So there's a lot of people that are concerned about the illegal immigrants coming across our southern border into our states. Would you be for the state guard, or even using our National Guard to protect our state lines, our borders on the shore ports, because we have a lot of human and child sex trafficking coming through there. We have drugs that come through there. In my county alone, we're number one in opioid overdoses. What can you do to prevent illegal immigrants from coming here? And I'll get to my other question about insurance, whether homeowners, car, because that is also skyrocketed, and it's pushing people out of their homes. I'll get to that one after, but I'll let you comment on the human and child sex trafficking and the drugs coming across first.
So right now, as just a citizen, I've contacted our acting governor, as I call him, acting governor. I've contacted him several times to ask that they use our National Guard. I believe that is the biggest problem, and that is the biggest detriment that this administration has caused on the United States. They've opened the borders. They let anyone come in. I personally, when I see them, the illegals, and people like to call them migrants. They're not migrants. They are illegal aliens. They are illegal visitors in our area. I call the police on them when I see them pandering and they have their children laying on the ground. You know, if your country was so bad that you had to leave and you came to this country and you're still doing the exact same thing, there's a common denominator that's wrong. It's got to be you. So I think the first thing you should do is go back to your country and make your country great. We want to make America great. We welcome everyone. Bring us, you're tired, you're sick, we want everyone, but you need to come legally.
Yeah.
Because
Only
I think
nation
it is
in the world that does.
Yes, it is a slap in the face to the immigrants that have come legally. I absolutely believe that. I stand with them. I think we should put our own guard out there. We should actively look for and round up the people that have come across the border illegally. In our county alone, there's been quite a few, just recently, quite a few crimes that have been committed, and they have been from illegal immigrants. They have been from people that they call them undocumented, but we know what that means. They're crimes that haven't been committed in decades. They're now being committed by these individuals that were let into our country illegally. And the worst part about it is I'm noticing that our own citizens here in this country, in our county alone, we're losing out on everything. We have citizens that have worked, lost their jobs. Their jobs have been given to some of these illegal aliens. We have citizens that can't afford their rent anymore, and they're out on the street while these illegal aliens are occupying hotel rooms for free because the government is paying for it.
Kicking veterans out too.
That is correct, and that is the most disgraceful thing. That is the most disgraceful thing to me, because our veterans kept this nation free. Our veterans kept us and brought us to where we are here today. And what we do to them is kick them in the street. We spit in their face. We don't give them the health care they need. We don't give them the mental health care that they need. And we give everything. We have EBT cards and we have free phones, all going to these illegal immigrants. And they're worrying that, the economy is so high. This is why.
Yep.
You have put hardworking Americans out of work. And again, I would also like to add, Brian, that I'm very tired of the people that make excuses. They make excuses for having these people here, for hiring these people.
Cheap labor.
Yes, exactly. We don't have anybody that's going to pick our fruit. Okay, well, then
I'll go pick your own. I'll go pick my own. If I want, however much I want, I'll go pick it, bring it myself. I don't need someone to go pick it for me.
That's absolutely right. I buy American, I buy local, I support my local people, I go to local businesses. Any chance I can, I will shy away from Winn-Dixie and Publix, although, at times they are very great. But if I see a local farmer or someone selling flowers locally, I'm going to them. It's the way we boost our economy, because government is absolutely not helping.
Are you for bringing manufacturing back here in Florida?
My God, yes. I'm a creative person, and we have lots of people here that are experienced in manufacturing, but they've made it so difficult. They've regulated the manufacturing companies so much that they either don't want to be here anymore, or they can't afford the people to have them here anymore. So they go someplace else. And like you said, they get cheap labor and they skyrocket the prices to the consumer. So yes, we need to have our manufacturing back.
Now, what about nuclear? Are you for nuclear energy?
Well, I am for...
Obviously fossil fuels as well. Now I'm not...
Yes, and that's why I was a little hesitant to answer. But yes, I am for our energy, clean energy. I don't believe in the global warming, and we have to kill all the cows, and we can no longer use gas equipment. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely.
So I brought up nuclear because it's the cleanest, most efficient, and effective energy you can have. I was on a nuclear carrier. Now, I wasn't a nuke. I was just some jabroni up on the flight deck waving in the birds. But you talk to nukes and they tell you how clean it is, and and I think people can even use a little small generator at their house, and their electric bill would be so cheap.
Correct.
And it's not the Green New Deal aspect like is being pushed with solar, which is a scam, and the windmills and all that, and that battery stuff, EV stuff. That's all a scam. It destroys the environment rather than using fossil fuels, nuclear. So I was just kind of curious on the energy part of which is good to hear.
Yes, well, actually, you know, those most of those things you answered, they're really not a scam. They're money makers for the higher ups in the government. You know,
China.
That's exactly right. China is behind this entire thing, led by I personally believe Barack Obama pulling the strings.
Well, you should use his real name. You should use his real name.
Barry Soetoro.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now I know who you're talking about.
So Barry
and Michael.
There you go. Okay, so I have this theory I just want to share with you, and that is why I personally feel they have all this transgender and LGBTQ, and we've got to get out there and love each other, because Michael's going to run for election soon, and everybody's going to have to feel good.
I don't think so. I think it'll be Gavin Newsom. I don't see Michael wanting to do that, because I think he likes just making all that money and sitting around doing nothing. He might actually have to do something, because right now they're serving their third term and they're sitting at home. So I can't really see him getting off the couch and
you might have a point there. You might have a point there. Barry might be serving his fourth term if Newsom ends up in office. So he'll have the best of both worlds.
I mean, all these selections. So let me ask you, since we're talking about selections, what do you believe for securing making elections great again?
So I believe the first thing we truly need to get rid of are mail-in ballots. That's how they stole our election. And
one way, yes.
That's one way. That was a biggie. That was a biggie, because they controlled the mail. They were able to bring in as much mail as they wanted. They'd sneak it in. They could take the mail and get rid of it if it was for the opposition.
Ballot harvesting is what it's called.
That's exactly right. And I'm sure you saw that 2,000 mules. It is.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean,
indisputable.
I've been fighting the election fraud since day one. I've seen Lindell's Cyber Symposium, 2,000 mules.
Yes.
A lady named Maria Zack, who has the machine evidence from Italy of them changing votes from President Trump to the scumbag that's pretending to be in there right now.
Yep.
And then I've been to my local election offices asking for records and never got any of them. So I know this. So go ahead. Sorry. So no mail-in ballots. What about us?
Yeah, I think we should do away with mail-in ballots for everyone, with the exception of military, those that are in the military. We have snowbirds, so if the snowbird is going to send it or request
but we
it,
shouldn't give them a reason to be. If you're not living here, if you're not here, then don't vote. Vote where you're living.
And you see, that's a problem that I've had, and you're absolutely right. Some people claim they have two residences.
Yeah, no.
They're here a certain amount of the year, but you have to be here and work here a certain amount of the year in order to do certain things. So I think if they're not here at least 10 months out of the year, then they shouldn't vote. If you want to vote, then drive back from wherever it is that you were and come and vote. And I think we should.
You can't accommodate these people.
That is correct. That's where there's too much room for their intentional errors.
Now, would you get rid of machines?
Absolutely. I think that we should go back to hand ballots, and there's going to be someone who actually looks at a signature, compares a signature, and then moves on.
A what? A signature? What is that?
You know what's so ironic about the presidential election, especially all the elections, because there have been fraud in every one of them. Just look at Kari Lake. But what gets me is, like, I was a community association manager, and when we had those annual elections for the president of the board of the HOA, the scrutiny that we had, to get these elections ready. We had to make sure you lived in the community. We had to see your identification. You had to come and sign a form. You had to send it in by a certain time. It had to be time stamped. Everything. There were so many things in place to make sure that the election was run properly. If we got a ballot that wasn't signed, it was a voided ballot. If we got a ballot that was stuck inside of another envelope, that was a voided ballot. So I think we must strengthen the procedures. We must strengthen the procedures for or surrounding the election, and we should have 1 day voting.
That's right.
1 day voting.
What about putting serial numbers on our ballots? You have a serial number. I have a serial number. Money has
We have serial numbers on our money. Why not?
Exactly.
Why not? Absolutely.
So you could implement a bill like this?
I would absolutely implement a bill like this. I would, and if I couldn't do it myself, I would find someone and push them to do it, because it's the right thing, it's the smart thing, and it's the only thing that's going to return some sort of belief and faith in our elections, or people are just going to stop voting. Yeah. And if that happens, we lost. We'll no longer ever have an election. We'll always have selections.
What's crazy is, I have to show my ID and things like that when I check in at the airport, and I'm like, well, how come I have to do this, but you don't have to do that when you vote? Or when you go into a courthouse, you go through security. I mean, how come our elections are the most unsecure aspect of everything, where you don't like the processes we just talked about? It seems like those don't exist. It's like, just mail it in, or hey, give it to me. I'll take it for you.
Exactly. And you know what? The government has contradicted itself for so long that the people they've become complacent in correcting the government. So the government forces you to show ID to cash a government check.
Yeah.
But you don't need ID to vote in I just don't understand it. That just shows that it is that the elections is so much more important to the government to win, that they'll do it at any cost. That's why we have all these invaders coming across our border. They're not just invaders, they're voters.
Yeah. So I just interviewed Bernie Jacques about a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks, whatever it was. And he stated illegal immigrants vote in our elections here in Florida.
They do. And I can tell you personally that when I was over at the tax collector, and my friend over at the tax collector, we observed on one day a van, a gentleman, and out came several Hispanics. And I am going to tell you they're Mexican. I do speak Spanish, and it was not of my dialect. So they had several Mexicans that went inside the tax collector's office, and they came out with their brand new driver's licenses. And each one of them would stand in front of the logo of the tax collector's office, while the person who brought them took a picture on his personal phone, as if, I need to memorialize this. And they took a picture, and then those people went off. So if that wasn't strange enough, the following weeks, the same individual came, and he had a car full of Chinese people. So yes, they have come across our border. They do have brokers that are out there paid to bring these people and get these people legalized, so to speak, so they can vote in our elections. And that's exactly what's coming across the border. They're new voters.
So why don't you think, since we have a super majority here in Florida, in the free state of Florida, how come the Republicans aren't doing anything about it?
I think the Republicans, the majority of them, I won't say all of them, but I think the majority of them have sold out. I feel that the majority of them have been convinced that this globalist regime that's in office right now, that they're going to maintain their power. Nancy Pelosi said the Democrats will never give up power, and they're doing everything they can to make sure that the rightful president doesn't return to power. So I think that these rhinos feel that they need to stake their claim on the good side, on the side that they believe is going to win, which is going to be the globalists, and they're just going to, they're going to be out the door as well. because when we take back our country, we are going to expose and we are going to alleviate every single rhino, every single liberal Democrat, every single person that fought to destroy America these past few years. We have to get rid of them.
So would you be willing to find a way to audit all past elections up until 2018? Because I feel a lot of these amendments and like property, I'm going to ask you about this here in a second. So in my county, they put a property tax hike in the primary and another raise your taxes in the general. And supposedly everybody voted for it. And me, when I get elected, I plan on auditing these to show that they were probably never legitimately voted on. That way you can repeal these taxes, because it's theft. Taxation without representation is theft.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would go for that.
Yeah. And so I want to guide you to, so I mentioned Maria Zack earlier. If you go to her webpage, Nations in Action, she has this property tax referendum to where it wipes out property tax. Because I ran on getting rid of all taxes except for having one flat tax, sales tax. And that way that generates money for the government. I'm for very limited government. So I think the only reason why you have a government is to protect and infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And so I think a lot of candidates, if you were to take her referendum on, that could help bring people your way to vote for you as well. So I would just check it. It's just advice. Her website's Nations in Actions, and it's a property tax referendum. If you look at it, she has it written out. You can just kind of take it and use it, and who knows, you might be able to even swing more people your way, because if they hear that maybe their property taxes will be wiped out, because anybody that owns their house, you shouldn't be paying property taxes on it.
That's correct. That's correct. We own our house, and the taxes have gone up. And our insurance has gone up. It's ridiculous. And
what would you do about the insurance right now? What would you do because Governor DeSantis supposedly has brought in special sessions, and they haven't done anything, and it's gone way through the roof.
Well, I'm not really sure about what Governor DeSantis does anymore, because he's been so absent. So I'm disappointed in him personally. I voted for him. He is an incredible governor. And he should have remained our governor, because we voted for him to protect Florida through his term. So, I digress a little bit, but that's the problem that I find with a lot of the politicians or the opportunists that feel like, oh, now's the time. I think I've got a lot of people that are telling me I'll do much better if I go to this next place. And it's not, they want to go to the next place because they have upped the amount of assistance they want to give to the people. It's what they can get in return. So I have a problem with that. DeSantis is a great governor. He should stay the governor.
Well, and I have a problem with them repealing that bill where you can resign to run law, where they took that away so he could run. Once they did everybody knew what he was doing.
That's correct.
I think his political career is over, by the way, now.
Well, I do. I hope so. I'll never vote for him for anything else. I will not. I will not vote for him. And yes, he should have been here for the insurance. The insurance is going through the roof. Me personally, I think, and I would love to sit down with every single constituent that wants to hear it, how they should self-insure. It's just the same as your health insurance. If you pay $200 a month, you're healthy as a horse, and you don't use that insurance for 40 years. And then you break a leg or something, and they only pay half of it. So just imagine all the money that you sent in just to say, I have this insurance company. I would, there's a lot of self-insured people, but you have to be disciplined, because just like when they had the moratorium for the rent, instead of people putting that money aside, thinking that eventually we're going to have to pay rent again. They just did whatever they wanted with it. So if people were more disciplined and were able to save money, at least half of what they pay, they would be able to take care of their own issues, replace their own roof, do their own plumbing if something happens. But again, we are a nation that is, we are dependent somewhat on government and government entities. And, we have to start thinking like our forefathers did in order to get back to the republic that it was intended to be.
Yep. No more giving an inch. We got to take our inches back and
Yes, sir.
really destroy the communists.
Absolutely.
We
They
also
want
need
to destroy us.
Well, they're about to if we don't step up.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a landlord. I kind of invest in properties and some other things. And I purchased a tax deed 2 years ago through the county. The people who squat have more rights and over people who actually own the property.
That's true.
Are you able to look at some of those bills and maybe me? I'm about getting rid of as much red tape and regulations as possible. Keep everything within common sense, laws and regulations. Are you for like digging in to some of these and just kind of try to cut out the red tape as well?
Absolutely. I think we should have limited government. I think every time something happens and people start saying, well, I wish the government would do this, or I wish somebody would, make a bill for this, you're inviting more overreach, more oversight. So I would be willing to look into all of these things and see how we could cut out the government, how we could get rid of the government. But again, it takes people to have faith in themselves or in their representation. And I
faith
would like
in God only, because man
God's
will
over
let you down.
the top of the list. Without him, you
Man
have
will
nothing.
let you down.
Yes, without God,
So-
you have nothing.
Yeah, is the Republican Party helping you at all in your county, in your district, or at all?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
No, so our local Republican Executive Committee of Lake County, no, they don't have anything to do with me. They don't invite me to anything. They don't notify me about anything. And this is absolutely against the rules
Yep.
of the Republican Party of Florida.
Don't be afraid to stand up and email them. I had to do that a lot and try to go after them, the Republican Party of Florida, even too, because like you said, it's in the bylaws. They're supposed to, they don't pick a side until after the primary.
That's correct. And they're supposed to give equal access to all candidates.
Yep.
And that's my only problem with them. I'm the one candidate that has no access. So, anybody who will listen, I'm happy to tell them, yes, I've reached out to the chairman of the Republican Party. I've reached out to, some of the members, and they always say, oh, we're going to go talk to him. And I've spoken to him myself. He'll swear on every Bible in every nation that they don't invite people. He swears that they don't keep people from having access to other people, but I have absolute proof that isn't true. So yes, I'm the underdog in this fight, but I will be the best constitutional.
But you're the best candidate in that fight.
I am, and they know it. They know it.
That same thing happened to me. That's why I had to ask. I had a feeling.
Yes, sir. You're right. I'm so sorry that happened to you, and hopefully I'm the last person it happens to, because I'm going to make a lot of noise.
It's like I said, I always called by God. I wasn't expecting help. I was just allowing God to kind of navigate the journey for me, and what a ride! I really did enjoy it. I miss it. I mean, I kind of miss it in a way because you just get to meet so many great people and bad people too. But we talked about it earlier. People love this republic. They want hope. They want that someone that they can see that actually believes that they do representing them. They want that person to be able to be a fighter and not be scared. And there's more of us out there than people think. I talk to people every day, And they're like, well, I'm just one man, man. It doesn't matter I'm like, it does, because if each and every person that said that actually did something, we wouldn't be where we're at today.
That's correct. That's correct. And you know, the one thing that I know that the majority of the Republican Party was so proud of is that they were the silent majority, and the silent majority is what, you know, got Trump into office in 2016. We have passed that. We can no longer be silent. We have to be as loud as they are. We have to be as vocal. We have to be out there. We have to speak up. We have to address. We have to call them out. And we have to stand together. We have to stand together.
He showed us how to do it. President Trump showed us how to fight back. And that's why they took him out. That's why he was a threat.
That is correct.
He, other than Jesus, I'm not comparing any man to Jesus, but I'm saying other than Jesus inspiring people, President Trump did inspire. He inspired me to run. I saw that because remember, don't forget, Republicans had the power his first 2 years in office, the Senate and Congress, and they didn't do anything.
Nope. And that's why there's such a disappointment.
Yeah, it showed me there needs to be people like us,
Correct.
You and I and others that need to get out there, put the boots on the ground,
correct,
and help try to save this republic, because it's do or die time. I think this is the last one. If it's a stolen election, it's definitely it. If it somehow we actually have a free and fair one, which I don't know.
That'll take a fight.
Yeah. I believe actually there'll be martial law. I don't even think we'll have an election. I think martial law is going to happen. But God conquered this war already. And it's not even about us being elected. It's really about us having a platform to speak the truth. Correct. Like I'm grateful to God that he connected me with somebody on this network who created this network and interviewed me. And he offered me a slot on this show to continue God's voice and to help other people like us have a platform. And I'm just really grateful for this opportunity and this chance to bring on God-fearing people, candidates like yourself and non-candidates like yourself, so I can really ask them the tough questions, because I'm not here to sugarcoat. I like asking the tough questions, to really dive down deep and see like who the candidate is. And I hope like you enjoyed yourself today too. And
yes.
And I also want to give you the floor to any other questions I might not have gotten to today on policy wise, or even where people can find you and help you, and just kind of take it away from here.
Well, I thank you very much, Brian, for giving me this platform. I'm very grateful. I thank God every day for bringing me here and bringing people to me, because like I said, I did not intend to be in this race, but I felt compelled to do something, especially after I heard that song. I felt compelled to do something, and I am going to do something. And even if I lose this race, I can tell you something. I am going to fight as hard as I can for the people of Lake County, for the District 13 people. I will continue to work for the people in the United States of America. I will continue to speak out the truth. I will not have my truth or the Constitution watered down. It is what it is. And it's the Bill of Rights. It's not the Bill of Feelings. So people have to remember that. I would urge every American to stand strong and firm on the Second Amendment. If they take the Second Amendment away, everything else is lost. So fight for your right. I am grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for everyone that gave me the chance to speak and to listen to me, and that decided to support me. I promise you, I say this all the time. I will not be bought. I will not be sold. I will not falter, and I will not waver, as so many that came before me. I am here to fight, to work, and to do the will of the American people in District 13, Lake County, Florida, and the United States Senate, if given the opportunity. So if you are so inclined to follow, to assist, to support me, which I pray that you are, my website is CJ Blanchette for Florida And my last name is BLANCETT for Florida, FOR.com. So thank you so much, Brian. You've been amazing. And like I said, if I don't get a chance to win, the people, the establishment, the incumbents will never forget my name because I will oust them all.
Amen. And never give up either. We cannot quit. And remember, this journey and fight is about protecting what's right. The vulnerable, the weak, the children, godly
Amen.
principles, our Judeo-Christian principles. And I hope you come back on, CJ, and maybe
Thank
down
you.
the road when you can update us on what's going on, how many badges you've earned since being banned. I kind of want you to get banned like I did on a lot of different things. I'm kind of waiting to see. I actually got arrested at our Pasco County School Board because I was telling them they're child abusers for forcing children to wear masks. And
Absolutely. I'm proud to know you.
Oh, well, I'm just some jabron. I'm nobody big, but it's just the whole fight of it, the whole demonic way of what's going on is just disgusting. And they're gonna use the scandemic again coming up. They're already trying to implement it. So just keep telling the truth, keep letting people know, stand for the children, and do what you can. I'm really grateful to have you on. I'm grateful to hopefully that you like for everything you stand for and seen. I really hope people are seeing the actions because you seem like you're that authentic, and I love it, and it excites me that there's so many of us and the sleepers, man, the people who don't think that they can make a difference. You can help her out, help her with signatures, just help her with anything. Tell your neighbors. I know it's hard to give money, but if you do give money, give it straight to her. Don't go through the Republican Party or nothing.
Thank you.
Go straight to her. Tell your neighbors and your friends. And it's word of mouth, y'all. Word of mouth. It doesn't cost anything. If you really, really want someone like CJ in there, get behind her. Stand with her, man. Help her out. Let's make a difference for our republic. CJ, I really appreciate you. God bless you.
I appreciate you, Brian. God bless you. Thank you so very much.
For sure.
Have a great night.
And CJ Blanchett, baby. That was awesome. I'm glad she joined us today. There's a lot of candidates. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of candidates, but I feel like there's more candidates than you guys realize that are like us, that want to make a difference, that really will serve we the people and won't be bought. There's not many, but there's definitely a few out there. And I really think you guys need to get behind CJ. And just, you need to get behind any of the grassroots people like that. You got to show up in the primary. That is the most important part, is showing up in the primary, making sure you fill out that petition that they need signed. Fill it out correctly. Take a moment to fill it out correctly, because if you don't, they won't even accept it. I had so many of mine thrown away. It's ridiculous. This is the time to really look at yourself, look in the mirror, really analyze your heart, your soul, your mind. This is God's world. We are not in this world. We are of this. Wait, we're not of this world. We're in the world. Excuse me. We're a child of God. It is our duty to serve, protect, and defend. It's time, y'all. Especially the men. Men, I need you, brothers. Wake up, dude. Grab your nutsack. Grab your balls. Whether your wife's got them, your girlfriend, whoever's got them. Go get them. Go get them off the jar, wherever they're at. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. Where's my caveman at? Where's my toxic masculinity at, baby? Woo! Let's do this, fellas. We're supposed to be the leaders, man. Who cares if someone calls you a name? Who gives a rat's ass, man? What that job you go to every day, what good is that job going to do if you're in a concentration camp or you're dead and your family's in a concentration camp and they're slaves? What's that going to matter? You know, if you know what's going on and you're still sitting by while children are being raped, children are being trafficked, used as slaves for working, your fellow man is being attacked for no reason, and you're just sitting by filming it or just sitting by, then you get what everything you got coming to you. But me personally, now I'm speaking only for myself, when everything's said and done, I've been called every name in the book, and I'm still standing here because of God's grace. Like I said, I'm a nobody. I'm not special. I'm just like you. CJ's just like you. We just care enough. We want to make a difference. It's God is instilled in us, and it's in all of us. We just have to acknowledge it and recognize it, and forget about the 7 deadly sins. And we need to put back the 10 commandment principles. And it's time parents actually start parenting their kids and stop letting them be self-entitled participation trophy little bastards. All right, guys, come on. This is do or die time. Do you really not care? Or do you care? What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to give up? You know, the men that stormed the beaches of Normandy, do you think their sacrifice was worth it today? Are you going to let their sacrifice be for nothing? Are you going to allow whoever served in your family that may have died and never came home, are you going to allow that to be for nothing? Or are you going to stand on a wall like they did? Because they knew the job that they had to do. They knew what God called them to do in the spirit, and that's to protect their nation, protect their Judeo-Christian principle nation. It's not about religion. Religion's bad. Religion's a cult to me, personally. It's about the Holy Spirit in you. When you read the Bible, it says the Holy Spirit, not the holy religion. And yeah, the Pope's going to go down. Churches are going to fall. The churches are failing the people too. The church is failing the Christ. You don't need to go to a church with walls to have church. You were just at church tonight. Whoever's watching, you just were at church tonight. CJ and I were talking church. And when 2 or more people are together talking church, the Holy Spirit's around. So the Holy Spirit was around. Y'all might have just missed it though. Or maybe some of y'all didn't. So I just want to leave you all with this. I know we've been on a long time. You're probably tired and bored. I hope not. You know, I said it earlier. In order for evil to prevail, is for good men to do nothing. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? You know, your children's future is on the line, and your children's future is on the line. You may not care, but I do. And we need more of you that do care to step it up. It's time. So I want to leave you this. God bless you all. And there was actually some soldiers died the other day. Actually, I think it was some Air Force. And I'm gonna go out with taps. We're gonna leave with taps, the playing of taps. So this is for every fallen soldier that never came home. This is for every one of them that is maybe still in Korea too. We still have men and women, or mostly men back in that day, that never came home. So this is for you guys. And as we conclude and we go out, God bless you all.